Hi everybody, welcome to the So Essential vlog. Happy Valentine's Day, happy Galentine's Day. I'm Lucy and I'm here to share with you my latest makes. So everything I talk about today is available on our website. You'll find the link to our website below. So I'll be talking about the pattern and the fabric I've used, but also lots of really useful tools and gadgets that I've been loving this month as well. And yeah, you'll find links to all of those below. I'm going to get started. It's this blouse that I'll be talking to you about, and that is the only thing I've managed to make in about the last month. And it's because it was one of those projects where I thought it was going to be dead straightforward, made a couple of silly mistakes and ended up having to really persevere with this one. But I thought I'd share it with you because I am so pleased that I did. I absolutely love wearing it. I wore it to go for, me and Ed went for a Valentine's meal on Wednesday this week, and I felt great in it, and I'm just so glad because I came so close to chucking it and forgetting it and not bothering. And I know you guys like to hear about when things have gone wrong as well as when things have gone right. You know, it's not always plain sailing. No matter how experienced you are, no matter how many things you've made, things can always go a bit awry. So I thought I'd share that story with you anyway. So the blouse I'm going to talk about, I've got the pattern here, is Burda 6368. So it's a blouse pattern. I chose to make the simple button down version with, it's got like a band that finishes the neckline and comes down into a button band at the front, and then just very simple sleeves with a small cuff. There is an option for some ruffles and on this blouse as well if you wanted to do that, and I know ruffle blouses are going to be very firmly in again this spring, so that's quite exciting. So there's that option there as well. The size range on this one goes from a 29 and 7/8 inch bust. I always think the sizes are quite specific on Burda patterns, up to a 57.5 inch bust, and then from a 22 and 7/8 inch waist up to a 50 and 3/8 inch waist, and then a 32.25 inch hip up to a 59 and 7/8 inch hip. Now I made a size 10 on the bust, and then I graded out to a 14, which I thought might be a bit big around the waist and hips. I thought I might have to go down to a 12, but actually I was quite happy with the size. I wanted a little bit of room around the waist and hips. So yeah, I'm really pleased with that. But anyway, let me show you. I made it in this gorgeous viscose fabric of ours, which I just think was perfect for Valentine's Day, for my Valentine's meal, and also absolutely perfect for spring. It's got this lovely sort of black candy stripe and then these beautiful flowers on it, and I just think it's really unusual and works perfectly for this sort of shirt style blouse. It's got darts in the back, so there's a nice shape to the bodice. The bust darts were in the right place for me, which is quite unusual, but I do really like the fit of Burda patterns generally. And one of the things I'm really pleased about is this area here fits really nicely. I often get drag lines there and problems with the armholes and the size of those, but that was all really good. It probably looks as if it's a little bit tight across the bust potentially, but that's not the case. It's just that I had some issues with the button band, which I will talk you through. I'll just untuck it as well. I wore it with these black skinny jeans to go out the other night and some little pointy heels, and felt great. But yeah, I'll show you it untucked as well, so you can see the length of it there. It's quite a generous length on it. I think I might have had to shorten it a little bit when I made one of my mistakes, so it might even have been slightly longer than this. But yeah, it's got a lovely fit because it's got these bust darts, it's got the darts on the back, and yeah, just a nice simple blouse. And I think, you know, blouses are where it's at for spring, aren't they? They're just great to be able to wear with trousers, skirts, you name it. You know, you can chuck a blouse on and not have to think too much. So I definitely want to get some more in my wardrobe ready for spring, but I just absolutely adore this fabric. I just think the candy stripe works really well for this sort of shirt style, but then I love the romantic sort of scattering of flowers, and I kind of had probably I made a bit of a rookie error because I think that flower is a little bit close to my boob, which I normally always think of when I'm cutting out, and for some reason I didn't this time. But I think because I'm quite small busted, because it's only on one side and actually it is a bit above my bust apex, I probably can get away with that. Hopefully if I hadn't have pointed it out to you all, you might never have noticed, but I like to be honest with you about the silly mistakes I make as well. So I've told you about the sizing. In terms of adjustments, I just made my usual high round back and forward shoulder. I didn't have to raise the bust darts, which is really nice because that's quite unusual for me. I often have to do that, but yeah, they were sort of in the perfect place there, which gives a nice fit. So yeah, I'm just really pleased with it. In terms of the construction, it is a very pretty simple sew. I think the only reason why I struggled is, as usual, the birder instructions are quite lacking, so they don't really go into a huge amount of detail, so they're not great patterns for beginners, but as an experienced sewer I actually really enjoy sewing with them because it gives me a chance to learn. And sometimes that learning process is that I sew it the wrong way and then I have to unpick it and sew it the right way. But I find that some people are probably thinking, oh my God, that would be horrible and not enjoyable at all. But I actually really enjoy that process because I think it really helps things to embed in my brain, and it really helps me to remember how to do those things in future. So I should just mention the cutting out of the fabric, because it is this really lovely fluid drapey viscose fabric. I did decide to cut it out on a single layer. Now, I don't think that would have been necessary. I think you could have actually cut it on the fold and it would have been fine. But I just loved it so much and I wanted it to be really perfect. Didn't turn out that way. So I did cut it on the single layer. But another little tip that I use, which is really useful, is if you are working with really fluid drapey fabrics and you're doing something like this button stand, which was it was like a facing that went all around the neckline and around the back of the shirt, that was interfaced. A good idea is to cut your interfacing out first and then iron your interfacing onto your fabric, then cut your fabric out, because that just means that the fabric doesn't shift and you get the perfect shape that you're supposed to be cutting out. And I did that and I found that really useful. But then in terms of construction, yeah, it was really simple. It's just that the instructions were quite lacking, and the first stumbling block I came across, everything was going swimmingly, and then I came to attach the facing at the back of the neck, and with a normal facing, you have the shorter edge and then you have the longer edge underneath, and normally you attach the shorter edge to the neckline, as we all know, and then that wider edge sits inside the garment and you finish it with perhaps some overlocking or whatever. So that's how I attached it to this blouse, and then when I tried it on, it was absolutely hideous, and the neck was standing away from me. It was like, oh God, it was just so out of shape and awful, and I just couldn't understand what had gone wrong. I was really surprised. I just couldn't get my head round why it looked so awful, and I just thought, I cannot wear this. It's not supposed to be like that. Oh, is it the pattern drafting? Is something gone wrong there? So I sort of put it to bed and put it away and went to bed and thought, I'll think about it tomorrow with a fresh mind. And then the next day I was, really trying to work out what had gone wrong again and thinking, I've just got to write this off. And then I took the pattern piece into my husband, Ed, who doesn't sew, and said, look, there's no way this pattern piece would fit here and I can't understand it and blah, blah, blah. And he sat there as a non-sewer and went, well, isn't it supposed to go the other way round? And no, it's definitely not. It's a facing. That always goes that way round. went off, had a little think and realised, oh my God, he's absolutely right. I couldn't see the wood for the trees, but because it was going to finish the neckline, actually you needed to attach it in the reverse way to what you normally would. So the longer edge of the facing needed to be sewn to the bodice so that when you turned it up, the shorter edge was round the back of the neck, and that's what I did then, and hopefully you can see there it fits beautifully round there now. Sits nice and snug against my neck, and yeah, all the drama was over. So that was great and quite hilarious that a non-sewer showed me how to do that. He just looked at the 2 pattern pieces and went, isn't it supposed to go like that? So yeah, that was all very funny. Anyway, I then had to unpick everything, sew it the correct way. I think I'd already trimmed and graded seams and stuff, so I had to cut a new facing. You know, it was really sort of quite a big undertaking to do it all again, but I thought, no, I'm going to do it, it's fine. Obviously I'd trimmed and graded the bodice as well, so I had to sort of overlap the facing further over. I only had like a 1/4 inch, say, on the bodice seam, so I had to like overhang the facing on the bodice when I was attaching it. But you know, I thought, no, I know what I'm doing now, this is fine. So I happily sewed away, and then I think because I'd already trimmed and graded things, the button band then just wasn't sitting right, and I had sort of this big sort of I don't know what was going on with the fabric. It was just attached wrong and it was hanging really funny, and I was just really gutted, you know, and I kept trying to convince myself, no, it's fine, it'll be okay. And then in the end, one night I decided, no, it's not okay. I am going to try and fix it. So I unpicked it again, and then I sort of manipulated the fabric and got it into a better position. And, you know, the long and short of it is, it's not perfect. The button band, the way it's sort of the way the fabric hangs isn't exactly perfect, and I did put the button band on slightly wrong, but I think after a lot of trials and tribulations, I feel like it is a really wearable garment. I know it's not perfect, but to the untrained eye and to, you know, anybody out there, I'm sure you wouldn't notice, especially when I've got it tucked in, which is how I will be wearing this blouse. So yeah, it's just to let you all know that, you know, things don't always go swimmingly for me. I have my dramas and my moments as well. Another issue I had as well was sewing the buttonhole. So I was using my Sensomatic foot, which is amazing, like the most amazing accessory to my Husqvarna machine. You plug it into the machine and you tell the machine what size buttonhole you want to stitch, and then the foot stitches the right size buttonhole. But what I didn't realise is that it's only suitable for sort of medium and medium weight fabrics really, and slightly heavier weight. So this really drapey, fluid viscose, the mechanism on the foot couldn't tell what was going on with the fabric, and it just kept stitching the wrong size buttonholes. I tried using a bit of stabiliser on the bit that was underneath the mechanism. I tried lots of different things, and again I got really frustrated at that. I was unpicking buttonholes and you know, what is it about this shirt, am I sort of jinxed or whatever? But then in the end, again, I stepped away, went to bed, thought about things, got my manual out for my machine and realised that foot is only suitable for the medium weight fabrics. I've used it on like cotton lawn and stuff before, but this is just so drapey and fluid, it wasn't any good. But I realised I just needed to use my manual buttonhole foot, and that was a really good process on the machine I've got as well. So then I managed to stitch those buttonholes out, so that was another like lesson learned. And I think that's the thing about these sorts of projects, you know, frustrating at the time, you know, especially when you want to get on and you kind of got loads of other things you want to be making as well, but then you have to sort of try and stop and take sort of satisfaction and joy from the things that you've learned as well. So I learned 2 really valuable lessons on this project. One about the collar at the back and how that came together and worked, and then the other one about my buttonholes with my machine and my different feet and which ones work best for which fabrics. So, you know, I'll never make those mistakes again, and you know, I've got that I've added that to my sewing knowledge now, which is lovely. So other than that, it was all pretty straightforward, but it did take me a lot longer than it should have done. The cuffs are a really nice little feature as well. There's these little vents on the cuff there, like down the sleeve, and then you've just got these little button-up cuffs, which I thought was really cute. I thought the sleeve length was really nice on me as well. I feel like I've got quite long arms, but that fitted really nicely. And I just haven't got many of these sorts of things in my wardrobe. I haven't got hardly any button-down shirts or blouses, and I do really love this one. And although I had all those problems with the construction and getting it to hang properly, they were mistakes that I made, and I'd really like to have a go at this pattern again, with that sort of knowledge and foresight, I suppose, because I think it is a really lovely classic sort of blouse. It's like a shirt, but it's a blouse. It's not as sort of masculine as a shirt. And I've been doing a bit of scouting around for spring trends, which I'll be sharing with you very soon. And I noticed blouses are very much in for spring, as you would expect, because they are just a great spring wardrobe staple. Just in terms of the construction, a couple of other tips. I used my Simflex sewing gauge, which I'm always talking about these, but they are brilliant. It just helps with that even spacing of your buttonholes. I use it, you can sort of line it up sometimes with, if you're happy with the button spacings on the pattern piece, you can line it up so it matches that, and then transfer that to your button band. Or if you just want to do your own thing and space them differently, you can decide how you want them spaced and use this to just make sure they're nice and even. So that was really useful. When I was sewing the buttons on as well, I used my button sewing foot, and that is just fantastic. I absolutely love it. You know, okay, yeah, you can hand sew a button on, and I actually really like hand sewing, but I just find hand sewing buttons on a bit boring, to be honest. The button sewing foot, which is available for most makes and models of machine, I'll put a link to the one I used on my Husqvarna machine, but you must always check our compatibility charts for whether it will be suitable for your make and model of machine. We never recommend buying anything that isn't designed for your machine, but we've got Janome, Pfaff, Husqvarna, Brother and Elmer machines on our site, so there's probably a button sewing foot for your machine. It's worth getting on and having a look, but it sews it on with just the right tension. So you just put the foot on, obviously, put the thread through, position the button in the right place. I use a bit of basting tape, which was a little tip that a friend of mine gave me. I use a bit of basting tape to stick the button in place, and then you just press go and it stitches the button with the perfect tension. It's lovely and neat, and it means you can just whip through them in no time instead of sitting there for 20 minutes sewing buttons on. You can just do it really quickly and easily and neatly, which is wonderful. And then the other tool I wanted to mention to you as well, one of my most hated sewing tasks, my nemesis really, is easing fabric. I hate it. I know some people love it, but I really don't enjoy it, especially when it comes to sleeves. I'm just always like dreading it when it comes to do the sleeves. But I think I may have found the thing that has changed everything and made it actually a really enjoyable task for me for the first time. Now, I always use like an awl, or I've got a stylus for my sewing machine, like a glass stylus, and I use that to try and ease the fabric through as I sew, but they always come to a point. Now, this time I used my purple thang, which you can get on our website. It's this quirky little contraption here, but as you can see, the end here against near my wrist, it's like a stiletto-y sort of end, but it's got like a flat bit as well, so it goes to a point, but it's got this nice flat surface. And then on the other end you've got a 1/4 inch little bit on that end as well, and then there's also a little gap in it, so you can use it for threading. If you can see that little hole there, you can use it for threading elastic and that sort of thing as well. But the bit I wanted to talk to you about, I'll just show you the label as well, purple thang. So we've got these on our site now. Yeah, the bit I really loved was this flat bit. I just found it so good for easing those sleeves through as I was sewing, because you could use it to hold the fabric flat as you eased it through, rather than it be a point. You can't ever quite hold the fabric flat like you want to, but with this I could, and it was just absolutely fantastic. And I can't remember how much they are, but they are a few pounds. They're really inexpensive, and I think I'll be using this for like the rest of my sewing days, because it really is such a great tool, and I haven't even tried it for the other things that it does yet. So yeah, that was great, really enjoyed using that. So I think that's pretty much it from me today. I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you don't mind me just talking about one thing, and I hope you've enjoyed hearing about my trials and tribulations, my gadgets, what went wrong. I'm just about to embark on my first pair of ginger jeans, so I'm hoping, I think ironically, I don't want to jinx it, but I think ironically they might go a bit better than this project did, which was supposed to be a fairly simple blouse, but we shall see, and I shall share them with you, warts and all, in the next month. And then yeah, just, you know, stay tuned. We'll be sharing lots of tutorials, sewing inspo. We've got a new season just around the corner, which I'm getting very excited about, so stay tuned for all of that. As I mentioned at the start of the video, everything I talked about today, the links are below, and if you like what you see, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.